Righto, what I'm about to do here is this is one of my knees, not my knees, but the knee that braces this bulkhead up against this bulkhead here. So what we've got to do is glue this into position and get our radiuses right and everything else. So what I've got is I've got my resin. I've already pre-weighed my resin. I've got about 200 grams there. I've got my MEKP sitting there ready to go. I've got a square, because we want to make sure that that's square, right? So that's for that. And then it's very level. Make sure we get it all level. And I've got my spoons. So I use my spoons to get my radiuses. So that's nice and easy. Get the radiuses up through there. I also use a tongue depressor. So the spoons and the tongue depressors. And I use, this is just a piece of ice cream container that I've cut up. And that helps sometimes when you're trying to get a nice smoothish. And then the other thing that I do as well is I give it a brush. A little bit later you'll see me, I'll give it a bit of a brush, get it nice and neat, nice and clean, ready to go. So today, for my glue, I've got Cabosil and I've got milled fibre. So the Cabosil thickens up the resin to give me a nice thick texture so that I can get it in. Oh. So there we go, guys, on goes the mask, out comes the voiceover guy. So what I'm doing here is I'm using my untreated fumed silica, mixing that with my vinyl ester resin to make up a nice thick glue. The thickness, so basically the reason behind that is to make sure that it doesn't just flow down the vertical surface or the bulkhead that I'm gluing this knee to. I'm also going to use the same product here for my radiuses. I'm going to get my radiuses and the curves in so that I can get the glass around it, lock it all into place, get a really strong finish. As I go there, I'm stirring, and as I stir, I crush any of the lumps up against the side of the container, up against the side of my mixing container, just so that I don't have any weak points. Any of the lumps that stay there can potentially form a weak point, and I don't want that. So that's what I'm doing. And there where we have the milled fibre, so I've just added the milled fibre in there and mixing that in. Make sure that gets right in, right through the entire system itself, through that glue, because it's now glue. Essentially that's what I'm doing when I add my Cabosil untreated fumed silica. Cabosil is also known as untreated fumed silica, so that's what I'm doing. So we can see how that's getting nice and thick now, guys. That's to make sure that it doesn't run down that vertical surface or down the bulkheads, and it sits in place exactly where I need it, and I can build up enough it just doesn't flow away. And that's pretty good. There's no lumps or anything in there. And then I'm going to add it to both surfaces. I'm going to add it to the knee, the bulkhead that I'm adding it to there right now. That's the bulkhead. And then I'm going to add it to the knee, just to make sure that I get good coverage, I don't have any problems. And then what I'll do is when I put that bulkhead hard up against, or I put the knee hard up against the bulkhead, then I'll make sure that any of the gaps are filled and I get a really nicely formed radius to make sure that I can get my fiberglass around or into those corners. The radius helps with that, to make sure that there's no 90-degree bends that can contain or trap the air. So just making sure that I get that into place now, get my little spirit level out, make sure it's nice and level. Then I'll get my square out and make sure that it's square to the bulkhead itself. Whoop, it was out of place. Do it again. Sometimes you've got to do it a couple of times just to make sure that if you're moving, because I'm moving around inside the boat as well, it can just move the knees. So I've just got to make sure that once I get it set, I'll try and leave it and move away from it. It won't take too long before that Cabosil will start going off. And then I've grabbed, I believe I've got a tongue depressor there. I use tongue depressors and I use wooden spoons, depending on the day, how I'm feeling. You know, they both do a great job. I do prefer the way that the timber spoons give me a bigger rounded surface, and it does it really easy. Leaves a very clean radius as well, so very clean surface. Great radius, I should say. And then you can see there that radius is pretty clean. Nice clean radius. It's all square. Happy with that. Got to be happy with that. Just move it slightly. There we go. And then I'll have to just make sure that my radius is good again. Just tidy it all up. But that's it. That's my radius. Done. Then I'll do some fiberglassing a little bit later. That's yet to come, guys. Well, that's pretty much it, guys. I'm not going to bore you with too much more detail. I'm going to make these videos nice and short and to the point as I can possibly get. Well, I hope you got something out of that, guys. In the not too distant future, I'm going to be adding the outboards to the transom. There's a little bit of work that's got to be done prior to that, but that's going to be coming very soon. And then I'll be starting to build the interior. I'm going to start from the very stern and work my way through to get it all done. Hope you enjoy, guys.